Hello, ladies and gentlemen, Holotide here, and we have got some massive leaks and rumors coming out of Marathon, Playtest, Arc Raiders players getting on Marathon to playtest PvE stuff. All of this, grain of salt always. I don't necessarily believe everything that we're going to talk about in this video. Marathon did just tweet out and showcase their Sentinel cinematic, so it looks like things are starting to wake up, but if you played Season 2, then you kind of realize that it was a very lackluster season. There wasn't a lot of focus from Bungie, I feel like, on this season to fix things and blah, 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 blah. And that's because I feel like they were really looking towards the future rather than the present. Like I said, I don't want to treat any of this like it's confirmed because it's obviously not. I do think that this is going to maybe push Bungie's hand to start releasing more about Season 3, but I think it's all worth talking about. We already knew that Bungie was working on a full PvE mode for Season 3. We didn't really know what it was supposed to look like. We got to play Vault Breakers, and that was a pretty bare bones and basic version of PvE, in my opinion. But the leaks we're going to talk about give a pretty detailed idea of what Bungie has apparently been testing. Again, grain of salt. Now, click off this video if you don't want leaks, if you don't, want to be spoiled or anything like that, or if you don't want to be disappointed if none of this turns out to be true. I actually was not going to make a video on this because I just didn't think that it was, I guess, not necessary, but just, I hate to get people excited for something if it's not coming, but it's been covered by a bunch of game journalists and stuff at this point, so I figured I'd give my 2 cents on it. But if you enjoy Marathon content, make sure you subscribe. I'm trying to hit 25,000 subs by the end of the year. We can do that with your help. I love Marathon. I'm playing it until they actually shut down the servers. So if you enjoy Marathon content, this is the place for you. I could be your second favorite Marathon YouTuber. All you have to do is hit that sub button. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you leave a like. If you're on mobile, hype the video up. It greatly helps me in the YouTube algorithm. So let's get into the video. Alright, so the leak comes from a Season 3 playtest. At least that's what people are claiming. And Bungie had an NDA-protected test, and apparently people aren't following that. But they allegedly were inviting people that were new to Marathon, so it sounds like they're doing more than just PvE content. We've heard that there's going to be like a rework of the new player onboarding system, so maybe they're doing that as well. These are all good things. And Marathon has a lot going on within the game, especially if you are brand new, if you're coming in fresh. But shortly after a bunch of these little leaks were coming out and that the playtest was happening, and there were like posts in a creator Discord where people didn't know where to give feedback, and then that let everybody else know that there was a playtest happening. So shortly after all of that, there was a Reddit post with a long list of supposed Season 3 details. Now, again, I can't confirm if any of this is true or if this person has a track record. I don't know. There's no way to really know from the post alone how much of it is actually going to be accurate or legitimate or if it's actually going to happen. But let's talk about the PvE mode because it does sound very interesting and way more intense and in a larger scale than Vault Breakers was. So from what I understand, the basic idea of the PvE mode is that it's going to be built around 4 runs. For the first 3, you can choose the map you're going to play on. You complete PvE objectives, like collect resources and stuff like that. It's fully cooperative. There will be events and things like that as well. But it looks like you're building for the next run, and the next run, and the next run. And then the 4th run is, according to the leak, it's always going to take place on the reworked perimeter. And you fight a giant tick queen as a boss, and I think people have been asking for a giant tick queen since the beginning of the game, so I want to believe that Bungie heard that and this is all real. And we're going to talk more about perimeter and its rework later on in the video. And then after you do all 4 runs, it's going to add them together somehow and determine what kind of reward you get at the end, and I really like this idea. It gives those runs a little bit more purpose. You're not just like running through them just to advance. It sounds good to me. I also read that, say you're on your third run and then you're playing with a friend and he just got on and he's on his first run. Once you guys complete your run, they will be moved up to going into the fourth run. So that's pretty cool as well. Let's talk about perimeter because it sounds massive. It sounds way bigger than just Dire Marsh to me with its Night Marsh version. We knew it was getting changed in some capacity. This leak makes it sound crazy. And I, again, take all this stuff with a grain of salt because we've only had a little bit of time go by, and I don't know if this is because Destiny people were moved on to Marathon that they're able to make changes this big, if this was stuff that they already had planned and were working on. I don't know. But perimeter is going to feel very different. Allegedly, they're putting a whole new section underneath perimeter. I've seen somebody allude that it's like 70%, the size of the above ground perimeter, basically a new version of the map that's all underground. You'll have tons of roots and rooms and stuff like that. Maybe a lot more verticality. I don't know. But this is super interesting to me. I don't think that we should expect a brand new map every season. I think map remixes and reworks like Night Marsh are acceptable for smaller seasons, but with season 3, this does feel like a larger update. So this is basically like a brand new map in my opinion, if it all turns out to be true. Now, I don't know if you'll be able to access this map if you just queue regular perimeter, if this is only available in the PvE mode, I hope not, or if it will be its own, playlist queue. We'll see. But there's apparently a lot happening down there under the main perimeter map. The leaks also talk about 4 different boss type encounters. The compiler is one of them. There's one that is apparently a giant modified Locus / destroyer shell. That sounds ridiculous and kind of crazy to me. Then you've got the Tick Queen, which is the guaranteed boss at the end of the 4th run. And then, allegedly, there is a boss that nobody knows anything about, that people couldn't get to spawn yet or something like that. But it's listed in either the codex or something, but I haven't seen anything about it. Just that it's a hidden boss. It might have mechanics or, maybe it's a puzzle for the community to figure out how to get to spawn, which we need more of again. I love hidden encounters or encounters where you have to do something to get it to spawn. It's not like guaranteed. With the Tick Queen, it's fully, cooperative. There's no enemy players or there's no team killing or anything like that. And it definitely sounds like something Bungie would have built for Destiny, where there are specific steps that you need to work through to beat a boss or like a strike boss or a raid boss or something like that. Instead of it just being a giant health pool. So we'll see how that translates to Marathon, if Marathon players like that or care, or if Destiny players will be like, yeah, I'll pop in. I'm not sure how dying, if you wipe against like the Tick Queen, if you just fail those 4 runs in PvE and you don't get anything, we'll see what happens. Another system that they're allegedly working on, I've said allegedly so many times, I need to figure out a different word, is something called Flash Boost. Apparently, you can equip these during a run, they can be re-rolled into different upgrades, they have different rarity levels. You're getting like a temporary build progression while you're doing this. One is called Hot Patch, which apparently makes shields, when you use shield charges, restore ability energy. There's a couple more, but I don't want to keep, spoiling everything. But that's cool. I like having stuff like that added for PvE, not necessarily for PvP. I feel like if you keep expanding the gear gap in the game, that it just makes people who don't have good gear not want to play against other players because they're just so outmatched. And to have like a decent come up is, smaller, the percentage goes down. New weapons are also being tested. We knew that new weapons were gonna come to the game, but apparently we might be getting something that's close to a flamethrower. That is sick to me. Yes, please do that. All it says is it's able to fire flames, so to me, that sounds like a flamethrower, but It doesn't nobody specifically said that. There's also a throwing knife type of weapon and a revolver that they're working on. But obviously, unfinished weapons might not be coming. Those weapons could potentially be for season 4 or something. Maybe they've already finished the other stuff and they're just not letting people playtest it. But it's good that they're working on weapons that are very unique and different than what we already have. Other stuff in the leaks, vendors are apparently getting changed, progression and things like that. I've heard rumblings that ranked is supposed to be getting some kind of update. Cosmetics are mentioned, backpack stuff, a new triage shell with unique voice lines, new weapon skins, and things like that. That's all super interesting, but I'm not super concerned with cosmetics. I'm more concerned about the game getting better and building on the foundation and kind of evolving. And all these leaks point, to me at least, that Bungie is really, really trying to make PvE feel like a part of Marathon, that it's like going to be a core pillar of the game going forward rather than just some, simple mode like Vault Breakers. This is way more extensive than what I thought we were going to get, especially like the multiple runs thing. The fact that you can do PvE without, worrying about other people killing you on maps, I think is going to be a huge incentive for like new players to play that mode, to learn maps and rotations and points of interest and stuff like that. I think that that's smart. I think all this is pretty important for Marathon because, one of the obvious problems with an extraction game is that it's hard and difficult for people. And, some people, they might love PvP, but they don't love the extraction side of things or, getting the gear and stuff like that. Some people don't want to fight other players all the time. Maybe they just wanted to queue in PvE. Other people just want to explore the world, shoot some robots, get loot. So it's just another reason and, playlist for somebody to play, which I think is important. I think casual players are the lifeblood for any game, and Marathon sorely needs that in their game. So obviously, we got to talk about how this kind of funnels into the now and into the future. We talk about the Steam numbers and all that stuff, and Season 3 launches on September 22nd. Bungie really needs this season to give people a reason to either come back or try the game. I'm sure there's going to be free-to-play weekends or a week for this new PvE mode to get people into the game. I honestly think that it would be a tragedy if they didn't. They also should probably wait to make sure that the servers work on the 22nd and then do the free-to-play stuff. That way people don't have a repeat of Season 2 where they couldn't log in and play the game during the free-to-play stuff. So all this is just, these leaks are just giving us a possible look at to what might be going on in the background. I don't want to get carried away with all this stuff. I don't want to get too high on the copium kind of stuff. It's a leak. It's a rumor. All of these things, even if they are true, are subject to change as well. We might not ever get that revolver. Who knows? But it sounds like Bungie, if this is all true, they're working hard. And they're trying to really change the game and build on that foundation. I think my biggest concern and question is about the 4-run structure of the PvE stuff. If each run actually feels like it matters and you're making decisions about how you want to risk your run or what you want to do during that, I think that people will find that addictive. But if it's just 4 separate PvE matches like Vault Breakers, and then you get to that 4th map and it's just an easy PvE boss, then I'm not sure that's going to have the same effect. We need to actually play the stuff. We need Bungie to show us actual stuff. So that's everything that I could find about the Season 3 leaks. There's a lot there. Things that I'm looking most forward to. Just the perimeter stuff, honestly. I love that map. I know a lot of people meme on it and say it's like the worst map in the game. I don't believe that. I love getting on perimeter. It's one of my favorite maps. So I'm excited that they're expanding that. A lot of these things could also change how Marathon feels to play, especially in that PvE content. But my question to you all is, would a PvE mode make you want to come back for Season 3 or consider playing Marathon? Or is there something else that Bungie needs to do before all of that? Add a TDM mode, please, Bungie, if you're listening. Let me know what you think. Like I said before, if you're new to the channel, make sure you sub, like the video, hype the video, all that cool stuff, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.